Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm gonna be giving you What if Naruto failed his Genin test and was intensely trained? Part 7. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was the direct descendant of the sage on this channel. And enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. And stay in tune for a brand new episode coming over at Making 3 and 2, which I hope you guys will enjoy. Yes, if you're new, you heard that correctly. I have 3 channels. Anime King, 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, they were going on their first C-rank mission. The fox kept on talking to him as they walked. The fox was able to feel the deep, dark desires that were inside of people, and he relayed them all to Naruto. As he heard the demon brothers talking, as the fox was relaying everything to him, as Naruto narrowed his eyes around, Tazuna was lying about something. The demon brothers are called out by Aoba. After all, ninja villages usually use missing names. And if there was a reason, Aoba was a man that went by the rule. He was always going by the strict rule, nothing above that. As he turned towards Tazuna and asked him if he liked about the mission, Konoha was really low on ninjas from the Nine Tails attack, and they were getting back on their feet, but they were still low on ninjas and manpower. So to send a team of Genin on a mission that they were falsifying, it was a act punishable by death. As Aoba asked him, as Tazuna told him yes. The Yamanakas could read Aoba's mind and see everything, as the man took off Tazuna's head. As Sakura dropped the ground, she puked. Sai and Naruto watched. Sai seemed to not really care, as Naruto seemed to just be unnerved by the entire sight. The demon brothers thanked him. If Konoha ever need them, they would be in the land of wait for a short period of time. As with that, they went off. As they spoke about the encounter, as Aoba told them about the section 7 in the rule book, as Sakura had to recall what her teacher had said to her. Arriving at Konoha, there was a group there waiting. As the group saw Naruto as they straight upright, came towards him and called him a monster. Ayam was dead. As Naruto was shocked, as she was put to death for poisoning Naruto. The girl had confessed to everything despite it wasn't her. Someone had done something to her. As she was now gone, and they all blamed Naruto. After all, many people came by the stall, given that her father had passed because of the prank that Naruto played. He did something in the past. She was the only one left, and she was now dead. As Sakura asked him what was that about, as he told her that Ayam has been poisoning his food, she slapped him. She deserved what she got if she had been poisoning him. She was trying to kill him. As the antics of his teammates made Naruto chirp a bit as he went home. As Naruto dreamed about it that night, it was just supposed to be a harmless prank. But there was a scuffle. As Toki tried to protect Naruto from the man that Naruto played prank on. And the man had died. As Naruto had changed from that moment on, he took her father away from her, so he feel like he deserved everything that happened to him. But Danzo knew the truth though. After all, Mizuki was the one that was trying to poison Naruto, and know that loose end need to be taken care of, because this was just driving Naruto deeper and deeper in his grasp. He was also transporting a package away from Konoha. Danzo was up to many things, as everything would just fall right under his control soon enough. An emotionless, perfect warrior with the nine-tailed beast inside of him, unbridled power to just use. He would be the perfect subject. The Genin teams all got a mission together. That was strange. They were supposed to transport a medic team towards the border between Konoha and Kirin. As they made their way, the fox kept on telling Naruto what Kabuto was thinking, as the man was thinking some dark things. To test him, to cut him open and see what made him tick to see if he would heal from certain injuries, Kabuto tried to touch Naruto, as Naruto lashed out at him. As he started to pant and hyperventilate, Kiba tried to calm Naruto down as well, but Naruto nearly slit his throat open if it wasn't for Kakashi, as the blade was inches away from Kiba. As Kakashi managed to calm Naruto down as he went to the far wall, as he just ignored everyone else, curled up on himself, as Kakashi could see that the boy needed help. His mind seemed to be getting fractured, as he would have to talk to his sensei student, as he have to find a way to help the boy. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought you guys can switch across the place and check out for yourself. So this is begins new episode. Ayuba was wincing by the time he got back to camp. He had known from the Hokage that Sai was one of Danzo's root, the organizations. Yes, he knew personally from the Hokage, but he never knew the boy's full set of skills. That was the reason why he brought the boy and patrolled with him, to see and understand what he can actually do. But he was far more surprised with Danzo for considering the boy as a failure, just because he didn't completely kill off his emotions. On the other hand, he had someone that he could at least trust to watch over his other two students back. As he looked around when he arrived in camp, Sakura was easily found, but Naruto, he couldn't find him. As he then finally caught track of the boy, he was under the tree, his arms pressed up together against his legs, and his head was down. What happened to him? He ignored Kakashi's pointed gaze. The man hadn't even taught his students some basic rules. How did he think that they were going to survive in real life? He did not move towards Naruto's eyes, settling on Sakura. He had named her team leader for a reason. Out of the three Genin, she was the most outspoken and, well, normal, as she was meant to be the voice of reason and logic in the unit. And the team leader was to take care of the rest of the team members as well. Not like a mother hen, but somewhere around that state. If she had read her duties, which she was sure that she did, then she would have done her job, and only if she failed, then you'll intervene. Sakura's shoulders dropped. She at least expected her sensei to say something to Naruto. Instead, he just barely glanced over here as he returned back to the campfire. Sai instead had moved near her, and he was just standing there, as he was like a guard dog that was ready to pounce. She suspected if she pointed a finger at someone and said it was his fault, Sai would be barking. The mental image made her crack a small smile. She pushed her hair behind her shoulders as she took the first step. Then she started to march towards him. Sai, behind her. Alright, moping boy. What's your problem? She said as she sat down next to him. Did someone stomp on you, Dickless? Said Sai. Sakura blinked. Was that really how Sai expect the boy to? Naruto chuckled. Yes, he actually chuckled lightly. He looked at the both of them with sad eyes. He looked like a small kick puppy instead of someone that was gonna kill Kiba earlier. No, he said. It's just nothing. No, it's not nothing, said Sakura. What sent you on psycho mode against Kiba? Oh, right. Naruto blinked. I suppose I owe Kiba some excuse. What happened back there, Naruto? I would like to think that he would tell us these things. What if next time there isn't a Jonin around, and this happened again? She placed a hand on his shoulder. We want to help you, Naruto. Let us help you, she said. He took a deep, shuddering breath, like he was fighting an internal enemy. As he nodded, I saw images. Images. The thing, he said, as he gestured towards his stomach. Sense them. They show what evil people do, or what they are thinking of doing. And Sakura frowned. What? What did the thing show you? She said. The Chunin. He's sick. Twisted sick. I think he's... Naruto gulped. Just don't go near him, not alone. He's not alright, she said. It's alright, Naruto, she said, as she tried to calm him. Sai had his eyes on Kabuto, who was looking at them. He was talking to another Chunin. Thank you, said Naruto. There was a lot of gratitude in his tone, like a thirsty, very, very thirsty man was given cold, rushing water. Sakura nodded as she carefully pulled him up. Now we go back to the campfire, alright? He won't do anything, and you have to apologize to Kiba, right? Yeah, he said a bit louder. Good, she said with a smile. As he got back to camp, he managed to bring out a sorry to Kiba, who just huffed and accepted. After all, the Nizaka's didn't bring grudges for Ami, and Ino had won, and they were beside Sasuke. But she was worried about her teammates. She didn't really care about that right now, as she saw that Naruto was not sleeping because every time something twitched, he'd move slightly. As the night kept on going on, she wondered, what was the difference between Naruto and Sasuke? Weren't they both alone? Both of them were orphans. They both were quiet. Both of them were keeping on their own. Sure, Sasuke was the last Uchiha, a certain noble circle, to Konoha clans. Practically the dream of every Kunoichi that belonged to a civilian family. Yet, between the two, Naruto was the most approachable. She closed her eyes. I wonder what she was doing. There was no way that she was comparing the both of them, right? She was in love with Sasuke. Real love. She was gonna melt his icy heart one day, and she was gonna marry him. Yeah, she said to herself. But a part of her mind didn't really know. And that was what kept her from falling asleep until very late in the night. Time skip. Kabuto opened his eyes slowly as the first rays of sun touched his face. He felt the body of Hatake tense slightly through the tremors through the ground. So he hadn't been wrong then. The man suspected him of something. How? He had moved every single facial muscle down to perfection. He had fooled even Ibiki Marina himself when it comes to the IT department. So why was the Jonin suspecting him? Perhaps it was a Sharingan implant. Could it really detect all lies? He couldn't believe that, but then again, he couldn't really understand why the Jinchuriki was so afraid of him. Maybe it was just a fear of smiling strangers. Or maybe it was his hair. Mizuki had the same hair color, but last he checked, Mizuki hadn't been discovered as the one that was responsible for the attack on the brat. If only there was some sort of reason. In any event, he couldn't act on a hunch right now, as he will have to watch first. But if there is a problem, he will have to silence the boy. He could try and convince the Kira rebels by chipping in a few more resources, he thought to himself. As everyone started to pack to move on, as Sakura was just about to finish, when Aoba placed a hand on her shoulder and gave a light squeeze. Well done, Sakura. She says she looked up at her sensei, but the man already left to check up on Sai-Naruto. She frowned. What did she do correctly? She just did her duty, right? Alright, let's double up and get there in no time. With a loud clap of his hand, they departed. As they walked, the air started to get colder and colder, as seagulls were flying. The ground getting muddy. The road that they were walking was split, broken off, like something had ravaged it. In the distance, there was a tall mountain that was split right in the middle. For the avalanche reached so far, there had to be a lot of downpour out here. The dams didn't hold Aoba-sensei murmur. Naruto's ear twitched as he heard that. If this was the situation here, what about further down the road? As they proceed in grim silence, the mountain growing closer and closer with every step that they took. By the time the sun was high up in the sky, the stench kicking their noses, it wasn't of corpses, but of fishes that were rotting away under the sun. Damn, Asuma said. Some of the fishes were still alive, but too weak to even move. As they grasped their last breath, there was a corpse by the tree. They haven't noticed it yet, the Kyuubi whispered, as Naruto had snapped around, regretting doing that. There it was, hanging, impaled by a branch, crimson blood that was caked up. His eyes open, his mouth filled with water, as his face was badly gorged by the crows that feast on his face. It was a horrible scene Asuma saw as he stepped forward as he blocked the tree, where the man was hanging off. Alright, let's get there faster now, he said. Is he for real? The Kyuubi whispered Aoba thought to Naruto. Is he really gonna shelter his students from this? I will start the mind condition training on my students soon enough, but he's still treating his like D-rankers. Seriously? Stragglers from 3 o'clock to Kakashi, as he was at the head of the group. As they neared the dirty, mud-filled village with the villagers and farmers, Naruto saw their pale complexion and their skinny faces. They weren't stragglers and they did not look like farmers. They looked like a thief that he used to see in bad alleys. They were also smiling nervously instead of repairing the broken down shop behind them. It was a small group, 4 men and an ugly looking woman. Shinobi-san, thank you, one of them said. Did Sayato get rid of the bodies properly? The Kyuubi chuckled as he spoke in Naruto's mind. We're not fighting shinobis. Farmers are one thing, shinobis is another. Is anyone wounded? Kabuto asked. Oh, no one, the fake farmer said quickly. Then why the blood on your clothes? Oh, would you look at that? The man said. His clothes was drenched with blood. It was really impossible that he hadn't noticed until then. The old woman slowly stepped back into the shack. I'll take the girl hostage, the Kyuubi said. They're from Konoha. They won't harm me, and I can make a run for it. Danzo words came to Naruto. Either you act with speed or precision. Think, move in and strike, but never stop. Never give your enemy time to think, and never stop until they're dead, because by then it might be too late. The mud at his feet did not slow him down. After all, the fox had read their thoughts. Take the girl hostage. As Naruto launched himself, he had already killed once, illusion or not, by the Jonins of the test. It still helped him, so he did not even blink as he stabbed into the ribcage of the first hungry-looking farmer. None of the Jonins stopped him as he pulled his weapon out. Blood came from the wound on the man's chest. He cursed himself. He should have aimed right for the heart instead of trying to break through the rib. It gave more time. As he quickly moved on to the other, he drive his blade forward again, but this thug pulled out a dagger. But Naruto slipped right under it and sliced, tearing into the man's left arm as he cried out in pain. He sent chakra down towards his leg as he kicked the man in his knee, shattering it because of the chakra in hands. As he stabbed his blade right into the man's neck the moment he dropped, pulling it out without mercy. The shocked leader of the troop fell down towards the ground, his hand clasped together. Mercy. We were just hungry. Please, don't kill us. Don't kill us, Shinobi-san, the man said. But Naruto twisted his blade as he brought it down, but his hand was grabbed by his sensei. Stop. They're taking a hostage from inside, said Naruto. As Aoba looked at him strangely, before he nodded as he released Naruto. As the boy rushed inside. You let him go, said Kakashi. Like the sudden slaughter hadn't even nerved him in the slightest. I trust him, Aoba said. And I saw enough to know that he was more than adequate enough to take on the last one. You should worry about your own. Kakashi turned as he looked towards his Genins. Ami had her hands on the ground, puking. Kiba was green in shock, covering his mouth, as he looked like he was about to puke as well. On the other hand, Sasuke was smiling. It looked like the devil had offered him a great deal. Kakashi sighed. He knew the problem wouldn't go away by him reading Ichi Ichi Mud Fight Club Special Swimsuit Edition out loud. The next moment, a black blur and a pink blur rushed inside as well. There. Now I know I taught them all well, Aoba said, as his two students went in as well. As he felt proud of him, he crossed his arms. Kakashi looked at Aoba with a half-bored look. In truth, he was actually thinking if he could make the Hokage give him Aoba's team. Maybe that was the solution to his problem. He could train a team, but only after someone trained them. That would solve quite a bit of hassle, now that he thought about it. Asum, on the other hand, seemed to look silent at the whole ordeal, before he pulled out a cigarette and lighted it up. His eyes traveled towards his own team. The Yamanaka was quiet, her face looking in shock. Shikamaru had a calculating look, his eyes narrowed. Choji had turned his head away completely. He was just watching the sidelines. He supposed you'll have to step up their training a bit if Team 13 is gonna enter Chunin exams. He walked towards the surrendering bandit, gesturing for him to come. As he led the man away, he would interrogate him, kill him, and hide the body before returning to the group. But he heard what the Jinchuriki said. He heard it. Meanwhile, as Naruto rushed inside, as he saw the real farmers, the women of the family, their clothes were torn and ripped off them. As Naruto kept on moving, he heard screaming. The last bandit carrying away a smaller figure who was trying to fight back. As Naruto launched himself like an animal, he did not use his blade. His hands he used. The woman screamed as Naruto nails had elongated as he stabbed them in her shoulder, ripping it down. He wasn't done as he smashed his fist in her face, breaking her nose. He brutally slammed his fist over and over, breaking her ribcage and slamming in her chest. It was good to act like the monster. After all, the wicked deserve to be punished. As he pulled back his hand before driving it, it burst right through the bandit's chest as he ripped his arm out. As he turned, as he was about to, an ink lion slammed right into him, knocking him off course and pinning him down to the ground. As Naruto snarled before realizing what it was, as he started to get a grip of himself. What was he about to do? What was he thinking a moment ago? Are you calm now, Naruto? I am, said Naruto. Good, said Sai. The ink lion melted down into the ink away from Naruto. As Naruto turned his head over to the side and puking out his breakfast. As he remembered what he just did, his mind was just railing with rage. He didn't even notice. He picked himself up slowly, his back turned to his friends. He slowly turned as he saw Sakura. A young child, probably no more older than 6, holding on to her leg. The child was looking at him. Her brown eyes looked at him with fright, her skin pale, her mouth open in horror. Sakura's face was a bit more controlled, but still. Sai had on his usual dismissive mask on his face, showing no emotion. Who was he kidding? Even he was afraid of himself. He's a monster, the Kyuubi said, as he made his voice sound just like Sakura's. As he was reading her thoughts, it seems. He is a cannibal. Is he gonna eat me as well? Maybe I should have asked to be transferred. Do I still have time? What if he tried to eat the child? Can I stop him? The voice of the beast turned again, returning back to its normal, gruff tone. You see, that is natural human nature to abandon your friend at the first sight of trouble, the Kyuubi said. But then again, your race is the one that made me. The anger and the hatred of your people is what made me strong. And am I not the strongest of all demons? Naruto winced. I feel sick, he said, as his mind couldn't even comprehend what the hell he was doing. As Sai spoke up, you ingested human meat. The reaction is normal. We should get back, Sakura said. Naruto, she whispered his name. Are you? I'm fine, he said. Can't help being a monster, it seems, he said, as he coughed again. The iron-like taste on his tongue was disgusting. But yet a part of him liked the aftermath. It left on his mouth. The saltiness, the coppery taste. He shook his head. What the hell was he thinking? He wasn't a cannibal. He wasn't a Kyuubi. He was going to let the beast dictate how he lived his life. He retrieved his tanto as he cleaned it with his sleeve. He would clean it properly later. The rest of the shinobi group was quiet by the time they returned. Report, Aoba said. As Sakura spoke, we pursued Naruto, who was after the remaining bandit. The woman had taken a hostage, but she lost a hold on the child. Said Sakura she looked like a small, muddy boy. Then Naruto charged in and killed her. She defended herself, Aoba said, as he saw Naruto was drenched. Yes, it was a mess, said Sakura. Well, we are tasked to bring relief to the era. We better camp here and reach the mountain tomorrow, said Kakashi. Your Genins can rest, Aoba. Mine and Asuma's will clean this shack of the corpses. Fight me. Naruto turned. As Sasuke was looking at him, Sai, step right in the middle. Fight between shinobis of lower rank or equal, the Chunins, must be approved by Jonin senseis or team leaders. A clear code in the conduct that should be withheld. Step back now, Uchiha-san, said Sai. So you're a coward when it comes to fighting other shinobi, huh? Dead last. His kill count is higher than yours, Uchiha. Was Sai getting angry? To diminish his worth as a Konoha shinobi is stupid, because you will always be underneath him until proven otherwise. Sasuke was about to move, as something had just snapped in him when Kakashi boys came in. After you remove the corpses, we might discuss it. If Aoba is willing. That's a team leader decision, Aoba said as his eyes settled on Sakura. The girl inhaled sharply. She knew. She knew her sensei would call on her to make the choice. Yes, she just knew it. She knew from the moment Naruto ran off he was testing her. Everything was always double checked. Everything was always meant to be a test. She looked at Naruto was breathing slowly. He had tired eyes and a low shoulder. He wasn't in any condition to fight. And the stress of what he done, no, she couldn't. Then there was Sasuke, who was grinning. Why couldn't he smile like that when she asked him out on dates? And why couldn't he say a yes? She suddenly felt as tired as Naruto was. Now she was asked to choose between her lifetime love and Naruto, her teammate. If she let them fight, Naruto would probably never open up to her ever again. What had she told him? She was his friend, wasn't she? She had renounced her friendship with Ino because both of them wanted Sasuke. She clenched her fists. No, she said. Sasuke grinned instantly faded away, as he looked shocked. What? I said no, she said. He's in no condition to fight you now. And even if he was, the answer would still be no. There's a mission to be done. All sparring is to be executed in the village to prevent strangers from seeing Konoha techniques. Are we understood, she said. So, you're defending the dead last? No, I'm standing for my teammate. And the answer is no, she said. Well then, nothing to do. The rules are rules, said Kakashi. Maybe back in Konoha. I will see for a joint training session when we get back, Aoba said. His gaze traveled to Sakura and the rest of his team, as he nodded in approval to them. Sasuke bumped past Sai as he made his way to his shack. Sai said nothing, but what the hell was wrong with him? Was he that angry? He was actually angry. Thanks. The voice of Naruto could be heard. What else are friends for? Said Sakura with a smile. Now, what do we do with her? Aoba said, pointing at a small child that was holding on Sakura's leg. We are a relief team. We will drop her off at the mountain era with other farmers, Asuma said. I would advise against it, Aoba said. They will be in deep with their own problems. We're a relief team so we can bring her to the closest orphanage while moving on, rather than give her to people that is already having their hands filled with other stuff. We're not paid to be babysitters, Kakashi said. His voice drawled out with a bit of annoyance. We'll leave the girl there. Alright, Ayuba said, as silence descended over the clearing, as the Genins got to work. After a while, we buried them, said Shikamaru. We got nothing to clean the shack though. I did clean my spot, said Ino. Was she really boasting that she wasted water? I'll let Sasuke come sleep with me there tonight. Sucks for you, forehead girl. Sakura turned towards her, before simply looking away. As Ino was surprised, but Ami heard her though, and Ami started to curse with her, and she started to curse back. Later that night, as Naruto fell asleep, Sakura glanced towards him. He had ripped out the woman's heart, and his hand was moving like he was about to eat it, as some of the blood had literally dropped in his mouth, until Sai, Ink Lion, had pushed him away. For Naruto, he found himself right inside the seal. What was that all about, said Naruto as he looked at Kurama. The fox looked at him calmly but did not utter a single word. I'm asking you what that was all about. Sakura wasn't really thinking that. You lied to me. No, I could lie, but where would there be purpose? If I lie, you will no longer believe my words, and you will no longer come to accept them as a truth. But she was afraid of you then. But perhaps she was more eager to earn the sensei's trust than impaired you. Humans tend to backstab each other with surprising ease. Then again, shinobi should be well versed in the art of backstabbing, shouldn't they? She wouldn't. She's not like that, said Naruto. Do you know what she think then? All of her thoughts. Even children has malice, without even harbinger because they do not think of it. A childish voice then spoke up. Sasuke-kun will be mine. Stupid Ino pig. Should just die. Damn her, I will show her. I won't eat today either. Damn, I'm hungry. This is for Sasuke. I'll survive this. Naruto is always yelling in class. When is he gonna shut up? The idiot. Stupid, stupid, stupid. You're just stupid if you ever think I'll go on a date with you. So what if he stopped asking me out? He's still an idiot. A quiet imbecile now, she said. Naruto shook his head. People can change, he said. People can become better. By the same token, they can also become worse, said the Kyuubi. I don't want to keep on hearing you every time. What you did back there, it was sick. What? I was hungry. I killed because of a need. You shinobis kill because greed. So tell me, which of us is the sickest? I wonder. Certainly not me. Why the images then? Why show me those things? Because I think it would be highly constructive in the long run. You are not like your mother or your grandmother. You listen. So maybe there is hope that you will understand. I need to be released, Naruto. Evil will grow unchecked and uncontrolled. The more I remain in the hands of man. Why do you think peace did not last after the show, the goodwill of the first Hokage? Because I wasn't there to stop it from growing. The more time passed, the more evil the next wave will come. But the first Hokage didn't know, said Naruto. He didn't listen. The Kyuubi roared. Humans learn how to seal Bijus, how to create Jinchurikis, and a hunt from my species began. He would not listen. He refused to understand. We are not mere beasts, built with chakra for no purpose or no reason, just to be used, to keep us in prison, to keep us away from our true purpose, the one that the Sage of Six Paths bestowed upon us. Peace. All the hatred of the world, Naruto, converge in me. Do you understand the malice of billions? Do you understand what it means to be filled with the cries of hate of thousands of voices? You cannot understand, but you must know. I wasn't even bigger than a tree the first time I opened my eyes. If I can level mountains with my tail, smash cities with my might, that is because I was grown, bred by the malice of man. A malice I tried to stomp out, but you humans would not listen. I do not want your excuse, said Kurama. I don't want your mercy or your fake sorry. I want you to know every murder, every death, every war could have been avoided if I was free. And for every day you hold me inside of you, you're responsible for those who die. Because of hatred, because of malice, and because of anger. That's not true. You can't be telling the truth, said Naruto. I don't need to be called a liar. Time will tell. Time always does. In the end, in the long run, truth is always inevitable. People always want more than what they have. and eventually, it will turn towards slaughter and death and carnage. Naruto said nothing more as he felt his consciousness being pushed back into reality. He opened his eyes as he heard small whimpers. Turning his head, he saw the child curl up next to Sakura. He closed his eyes again, praying to calm that sleep would catch him. Tomorrow morning, everything will be better. There will be something good tomorrow. There always was a ray of light after a downpour, right? But the answer was one and only one. No. Time skip. Brown tea. Green tea for me. The small tea shop in Konoha. As a waitress nodded as she made her way, Danzo Shimura sat back in his chair as Hiruzen puffed on his pipe. The two didn't say a single word, as noise were all around them, but they kept quiet. Dogs were barking, cat was meowing, husband and wives were cursing, drunken people in alley were shouting. I grew up around here, Danzo said, like it was a simple conversation starter. It was even worse back in days of war. I know. We met on these streets, didn't we? Yes. It was like a fairy tale. The street urchin and the ear of the Sarutobi clan, both with desire to protect Konoha. The promise that was made on their principle, said Danzo. As the tea arrived and the waitress excused herself. Now look at us, said Danzo. Some things never change, Hiruzen said as he looked at the tea leaf. But some of them do. Indeed. Hokage-sama. Indeed, said Danzo. You know, I didn't want the post, Hiruzen said, the chuckle. I really didn't want the paperwork. I would have preferred the duties of clan head and nothing more. I would have given the position to you if I was able to. I still would. If it wouldn't send the clan heads up into an uproar. Oh, I know that, Hiruzen, I know. Tobirama-sensei knew it too. He knew that Konoha held up because the major clan heads come together. And he couldn't put someone that didn't have the backing of a large cloud. I placed you on my counselors, Hiruzen said. I tried to listen, but they just kept on asking. Minato seemed the perfect choice at the time, didn't he? He was a good shinobi, loyal to a fault. Clanless, but yet powerful. After that battle against Hidden Stone, he brought down, Danzo said. He killed more than 200 men in less than 15 minutes. They never saw him coming. He had killed before. He fought before. He was a shinobi, one of the best. Why him? I pulled him off the battle and placed him behind the decks, said Hiruzen. I can't help but feel I simply swapped the poison in a different vial. That also caused me one of my students, said Hiruzen. Well, Hiruzen, you couldn't have predicted the Kyuubi breaking free. Just like you couldn't predict the treatment that Naruto received by the villagers. No one mistreated him, Hiruzen said. He wasn't hit. There weren't any mobs around. The orphans' caretakers did not malnourish or harm him. He was kept under surveillance 24 hours a day by people I could trust. And yet in the end, he was still broken, said Danzo. Hiruzen took a breath as a release. I couldn't. Take him in, Danzo. The other clans would have asked for a peace, like he was nothing but a slab of meat. I couldn't have him shared. They were the Uchihas to take care of. There was so much trouble following the Kyuubi's wake. I did what I could do with him, but my title of Kami of Shinobi, it's just a title when you're behind the decks. You know, Saru, I thought you'd have intervened by now. No one is going on a rampage because the Jinchuriki is under my wing. So why not abuse your office title and take him under your clan? Hiruzen's eyes narrowed. You have dirt on all the clans. You're clanless, and yet you've been successful head of Anvu in your youth. You haven't officially adopted Naruto and taken him as your son. So it's more like a teacher just taking more responsibility with their student. To the others, they are simply taking unnecessary risks to a broken boy barely above the dead glass. And yet other Jinchurikis, other villages have always been treated with high regards. Fear, yes, but a high esteem because of what they harbor and how much they could accomplish. A simple thing like a ear blade or earth dragon in the hands of a Jinchuriki magnified with such power can become a widespread devastation technique for an entire village. Anyone would see you as a fool for leaving him in my hands. Hiruzen remained dead calm as he began to speak. Civilians fear the Kyuubi for what it did, and they fear Naruto because he's barely a boy, just skin, flesh and bones, to hold back such a massive creature. And the shinobis fear Naruto's loyalty because of how he was treated, and because he's broken, as you say. Giving him any jutsu that can be powered by chakra is dangerous in their eyes. A normal shinobi can create a fireball the size of a human torso repeatedly, but he could create a firestorm that could outright ravage the entire village of Konoha. Well, the trick lies in the balance, Danzo said. I knew that. I was just hoping that you wouldn't know it either. I may be growing tired with age, old friend, but for the good of Konoha, I have accepted the Uchiha's extermination down to the last infant, except for one. I understood the risk they posed and the added bonus of denying Orochimaru more power through his twisted ways of getting it. Don't make me prove my foolishness by believing that you're training Naruto for anything else. Danzo's smile was it that obvious that you're training him to become like his father, to become an instrument of death towards the other countries, that you want to mold him into a tool of mass destruction. You are not one to waste resources, Danzo, Hiruzen said. The chakra the boy possesses is astonishing. Cooling down his head and making sure that he's loyal to the lead first is the first thing I could expect from you. Danzo smirked, a small smirk. You're not afraid that I will use him to gain the Hokage seat? Hiruzen snorted. You want the paperwork? Take it whenever you want, Hokage. Make tough calls during the day. But in peace times, there's not much to do. Yet the papers for mission approval always need triple copies. As he looked towards his tea, maybe it's the fact that we have to train kids for war. I'm really getting too old for this job. A pity, Danzo says he sipped his own tea. But then again, it's the world that we live in, where the young die and the old man live to make fools out of themselves. Concerning the teens for June exams, Hiruzen said quietly. What of Team 13? I propose a silent promotion for them, Danzo said. Have the Uchiha go with the public. Make him a Chunin as long as he defeats someone, and have him being seen around Konoha. Once Naruto hits Chunin if he's adequately loyal, I will get him starting on elemental manipulation. Fire techniques. Danzo shook his head. Win. Win is hard to control without patience and... Hiruzen's words died in his mouth, as a tiny smirk came on his lips. I see. Guide the hand, but let it close itself around the enemy's neck by its own will. As Danzo nodded at the third words, I think it's in our best interest to keep Naruto away from Shuriken Jutsus. Unless a war breaks out, the exponential risk and increase in power for him would be quite devastated if he chose to change sides. You think it was wise sending him along that mission? Kiri will not start a war, but I do not doubt that he will be, anyway, in the area. The rebel will probably be the first to contact the Konoha team, and my operatives will catch them. The bloodline, Hiruzen said. I still don't understand what happened to the Mizukage to tear his own country in half, just to exterminate all the bloodline users. Terrible. Even Hanzo is considered deceased by his man, said Danzo. Win is lacking money and resources. The Hina Stone is still bitter and Kumo is silent and covering bloodlines. We will grow strong again with time, as long as we stay united. Hiruzen sighed. I really am too old to be Hokage. Danzo did not say anything. The words Hiruzen spoke were one thing, but the man's actions were another. As Hiruzen was no weak old fool man as he let himself be seen as. But Danzo was already planning a coup to gain the title of Hokage. Once Hiruzen was out of the picture, the one who had the Jinchuriki under their control would become naturally the Kage, a bloodline lacking Kiri. It will fall within days. That would leave only the stone and Kumo to worry about, exchanging a few Hyugas to Kumo just to make sure that they didn't attack until everything was ready. Danzo man already planned everything for the conquest of the entire elemental nation, and it all will begin with the death of the one that was once his best friend. Peace could not be gained through just walking and shaking the enemy's hands. You had to exterminate, you had to obliterate hope to show them there is none, to make them understand who is in control. Mizuki had been captured, interrogated and dealt with. Now all that was left was to get the right information in the right hands at the right moment. He already knew how though. After all, the documents had already been forged to perfection. With Naruto, the mountain had collapsed one side of it as the place was run down. The few men and women tried to save up best they could. He was working together with Kiba, removing wooden chunks and piles of mud. The Inuzaka was silent towards him. Akamaru moved as he looked around out of Kiba's jacket, as Kiba could smell the blood of the corpses around, as the mountain had run over everything. Akamaru barked as he jumped out of Kiba's jacket. He started digging the corner of the area, barking at the same time. Grabbing his shovel, Naruto moved over as they broke through the mud going down a roof. The mudslide had covered the roof. As they broke it to realize there was a hand there. The person was still alive. Half of her face was smashed down into the ground because of the mudslide and had pinned her down. It was a woman, frail looking and dirty. As Naruto widened the hole as he sent Kiba to alert them that there was someone else alive. It's gonna be alright, he said without much hope in his voice. After all, he wasn't a medic. Her face was all messed up, half of it anyway, and he wasn't sure if she was gonna live or not. All he could do was make sure the exit wasn't closed. As this woman was a prostitute, the clothes that she was wearing, easy clothes to remove. But those days seemed like it was over if she survived, given that her face was all messed up now. The kunai came from his pocket as he started to stab her in the mud, trying to break it loose to let her free. Just stay calm, he said as he splintered out the mud. Everything's gonna be fine. So fragile and yet so strong-willed, the Kyuubi said. Her life is forfeit to hunger and thirst. If she's to remain alive now, her job, no longer an option. Her life will be nothing but suffering, until death claims her, probably in a worse way. Even now despair clouds her mind and her judgment. You know Naruto, she wished to be killed. She wished for you to make a mistake while breaking the mud and slice her throat. She wished for the pain to end and yet her body clings to life. That is something I never understand with you humans. Always clinging to life even when your brain wished for something else. You humans. As Naruto kept on removing the mud, as more mud was removed, she could breathe easier. Naruto, is everything alright down there? As his sensei voice came from above, as he looked upwards. Yes, sensei, I'm trying to free her from the mud now. She's breathing. But her right side is a mess. Don't try to move her then. Just do what you can and move back up. Yes, sensei. As he managed to free her, as he was about to move away, she grabbed his pants. As he smiled, it's gonna be alright. Be careful. There are curious shinobis around the village. They're going to try and kill you. The Kyuubi's voice said in his head, in a feminine tone. Curious shinobis? As Naruto looked towards her, thank you, he said. The woman looked shocked. After all, she never said it out loud. If she was right if he understand what she was thinking. As Naruto made his way up. Naruto, you missed lunch, Sakura said. As she gave him a bowl. Soup was in it. He would have preferred ramen, but as it brought up some bad memories, he tried to squash it down. The girl had mud in her now short hair. As she seemed to just finish a scuffle, Ino's hair had mud in it as well. Both of them stared at each other with a glare as he refused to talk. What happened, said Naruto. Ino being stupid, she said, as she took by the empty bowl, as he finished quite quickly. Have you seen Sai around? No. If I do, I'll tell you, said Naruto. She shrugged. It's not that. Sasuke and he are supposed to be doing a check of the villagers to see who's still missing and who's dead. Send him to Sasuke if you find him. Where is Sasuke sensei, Naruto asked as he looked around. I don't know. I gotta get Ino bitch clean now. All the more fun for me, she said to herself. Want me to do it, said Naruto. I don't mind, he said. I'm torn between looking for the emotionless wall, said Sakura, or convincing the pork chop over there to work. She sighed. I'll take the emotionless one, she said, as she made her way. Thanks, Naruto. As Naruto made his way over, as he saw Ino, as she was trying to use the water to wash out her hair, wasting it. He looked in her backpack as he saw more bottles of water there. He said nothing about that. She lifted up her wet face, as she frowned. What? We have cleaning duty, he said. Can you show me where the stuff is to be clean? Yes, we're gonna dirty them again tonight. She scoffed. It's over there, as she pointed towards the tent, where the elderly and the wounded were. It's our duty. You're coming, said Naruto. I got better things to do, my sensei, so that I should just help cook. He said nothing about cleaning, said Ino. So you won't help, he said. Duh, are you deaf? Or brain dead? Just want to be sure, said Naruto. I'll point it out in the report, as he started to walk before she grabbed his arm. Naruto's arm moved towards his blade as he stopped himself, as he took a breath. You're lying. Your sensei, he's the one writing the report for you, isn't he? No, he did that first, but he wants our first secret mission to be done, with the day-by-day reports. So, I will write up this, and that's all. As he pulled his arm free and started to walk again, he heard footsteps behind him as she started to follow him, cursing the entire way. As they entered the tent, the look of disgust in her face was visible, like she's never seen something like this in her entire life. But when they reached the table, it was clean. The tools removed. See? Sensei probably cleaned it, she said. Naruto looked around. If so, where's everything? Ino looked around. I'm sure it's around here somewhere, she said. As Naruto's eye twitched, Naruto's eyes, they were all gone. Naruto turned towards her. I would like to know what your sensei taught you if you make such poor calls. Hey, Forehead was leaving too, Ino snapped back. She's at fault more than me. She tried to leave me behind because she wanted to find Sasuke-kun, and as Naruto cut her off, and not because someone has to keep an eye on the things to prevent people from stealing them. Excuse me, a voice cut in as Naruto turned his gaze. A raven-haired girl was looking at them in a kimono with a bit of worry and fear. She was holding a small basket with herbs. The lower side of her clothes was muddied. I couldn't help but overhear. I wanted to thank you all with these medical herbs, but if you want cooking utensils, there are what is remain of the brothel kitchen in that direction. As she pointed towards the side of the broken mountain, There should be some tools you can use. I should warn one of the senseis. We can't be leaving our post without them. Aoba sensei was at dig site. You wanna go? Said Naruto. Who, me? No thanks. I barely managed to get the mud out of my sandals, Ino said. Alright, said Naruto. I'll go. As he ran on top of the mud, using chakra. The girl couldn't have her sandals covered in mud if she was using chakra, so she did not go. He would just write in the report as he made his way. When he arrived, Aoba sensei wasn't at dig site. Neither was Sakura or Sai. Choji and Shikamaru seemed to have disappeared as well. The rescuers weren't there either. There was only puddles of water, drifting off wind, blowing around him. As he glanced around nervously, something was wrong. A scream broke out from a tent. That sounds like Ino. As he pulled out his tanto, blade chains passed right over his head. Miyaizu, Gozu, we got ourselves a lucky one, or unlucky, since we're gonna have to kill him. As Naruto leaped out of the way, Senmon's licked her in the ground. The kimono wearing girl before was now a male, with fit, baggy shirt and long baggy pants that reached his ankle. I took care of the girl, the boy remarked. We have to be quick before Zabuza-sama distraction ends. He took care of the girl? Ino? As Naruto grit his teeth in frustration, where were the Jonins when you needed them? As he looked at the three shinobis in front of him. The brothers released a water attack towards him from the ground. As he leaped away, but it froze mid-air. They then broke into 1,000 ice needles that launched towards him. He brought his arm in front of him as they stabbed into his arms, throwing him back. As Naruto glanced, sliced into bits, said the Kyuubi. Naruto leaped forward as he pulled shurikens and threw them. As he flipped over a sliced claw, he dropped and rolled only for him to stuck on ice. A surface of ice that wasn't there a moment before, just like how the water had frozen the ice. The second brother came in from the back, the other one came in from the front. He pulled his remaining shurikens and threw them behind him. After the brother behind him, as he used his tanto to block the strike of the gauntlet from the other one. As he forced chakra into his blade, he wasn't even thinking about how much chakra he should put in it. He just reinforced it with as much as possible. The blue flames of chakra erupted from the blade, melting the ice that was holding him still. The flames didn't really burn, they just energized the area. He could move, but he twists as the other brother smashed into his side. Naruto cried out in pain as the man had literally torn into his side. Blood poured out of his torn out side as he was kicked in the face as he crashed into the mud. He choked out at the pain. These weren't bandits that he could kill with ease. These were shinobi, chunin bandits that knew how to fight in a team and support one another. Alone, he didn't stand a chance. Whoever said anything about that you're alone. This is just like you, always thinking so negatively. Shut up, said Naruto, as the fox said in such a casual tone that pissed him off. Even worse because of the pain flaring in his side. But he screamed out loud as the enemy ninjas paused. Shut up, he yelled again. You can take your bloody amusement and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. Do you hear me? If I'm gonna die, then you better not be the last thing I hear. Can't you just shut the hell up? That's not gonna save you, kid, one of the two missing ninjas remarked. He's delirious by now, Miyaizu, the other one said, pointing at the side wound. The poison is probably kicking in. He's a goner no matter what. Let's go. Either he died by blood loss or poison. We don't know how longer the chief can hold back the Jonins. The third teammate, who was hidden in the puddles, came out and they started to leave. They left him for dead. He slammed his fist into the ground as fire erupted inside of him. His wounds closed up within a second. A pity. A true pity. You bastard. I'll have you. You have me what? Seal? You hid the knowledge from your teammates. You were told about the enemy shinobi. The girl is dead because you held back vital information. What? Said Naruto. Oh, you weren't paying attention. I said. Naruto cut the Kyuubi off as he made his way back to the tent. Blood, needles filled the area, torn body parts. The work couldn't have been done by a single man. It was impossible. As he saw a pregnant woman, her stomach smashed to pieces. The Kyuubi didn't say a word about this. From the time it took him to run off to the dig site, the enemy shinobi had torn apart civilians, helpless people. Silently, they came and they left. Where the hell was his Jonins? Did they decide to take a trip or something? As Naruto then saw her, Ino Yamanaka, her throat had been sliced cleanly. Blood scattered all over her dress. She lay there, her eyes open and glassy. She barely got out a scream before her death. As Naruto heard words in his head. Past memory. The first terrifying moment is not your first kill, Naruto. It is when you find a Jonin sensei, fellow teammate, fellow Genin dead. It is then that you realize there's no mercy from death. Anyone can be killed at any time. That is what will truly break you out of your old habits and give you a new. As Naruto's eyes just snap out of focus for a moment as he heard footsteps behind him, someone rushing towards his location. But guys, be in subs right here. If you want the next part of do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications. Say posted, but I'm up for now. See you guys soon. Peace, guys.